Alright, man, peace. So in many videos that I've made on this channel in the past, I've noted that I believe that various high-profile athletes, particularly in the modern-day sports world, are monarch athletes. What are monarch athletes? Those are many of the elite members of the entertainment industry in the sphere known as the sports world who were put under MK Ultra programming, that being sensory deprivation, torture, electroshock therapy, even genetic modification to enhance their overall abilities. Oftentimes their parents are their handlers, or certain elite level coaches are MK handlers. Now in the professional sports world, the Golden State Warriors are a team that I tend to pay very close attention to because of many of the more notable members of that team, whether it be the coach Steve Kerr or the prominent players like Steph Curry and Draymond Green. I've made a couple of videos particularly highlighting Steph Curry in the past because it was very clear to me in a couple of the commercials that he's done, as well as a skit that was performed by Drake, that it is relatively common knowledge in the upper echelons of the sports world that Steph is an MK asset. And as I tell you brothers all the time, for most of these players, their wives are their handlers. Well, a couple of years ago, after a certain postseason game, in the post-game press conference, Draymond Green seemed to zone out. It was a very famous clip. I believe he was sitting next to Festus Ezeli, and his mouth just started to hang open and his eyes got blank. Well, it happened again on Sunday in the aftermath of the Golden State Warriors game against the New Orleans Pelicans, where Draymond Green, this time he's on the dais with his fellow Monarch athlete Steph Curry, and he just starts to zone out again. Well, anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in. Pay very close attention to how Miss Rachel Nichols expresses herself in regards to what is happening to Draymond.
Daydreams. Someone unplug.
Now, did you hear what Rachel Nichols stated? She said, daydreams. Let me rewind it back.
Unplug. Make daydreams. Someone unplug Draymond again?
Now, did you hear what she stated? She said, did someone unplug Draymond Green again? Why would she make a statement like that with that type of symbolic language? Basically trying to imply that, Draymond is a flesh and blood android or a flesh and blood robot, which is what most MK athletes are considered because they're fully under the control of their handlers, that being their coaches or their parents or their spouse or what have you.
I don't know. This was yesterday after the game. Maybe he's a host in Westworld. I like that explanation the best. No? Yes?
Look at Draymond's face. I bet you somebody calls his house before the game and they said, you're going to kick ass like a donkey. And he just snaps to attention.
Yes?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, it's the most popular show on television, and I feel like Draymond deserves a role in it. Why not?
He's done this before.
Yes.
I love this about Draymond. It's just like, I'm going to play possum.
I don't.
No, he's not playing possum, Byron Scott. I think you may be playing possum because you've been around the NBA long enough to know that there are MK assets scattered all throughout the NBA. As a matter of fact, you coach one of them, that being Mr. Chris Paul. I did a video about him a while ago. I believe that it was the video where I stated that Chris Bosh agrees with me. So you're familiar with it. And one of your teammates may have been one of the more prominent Monarch athletes, that being Mr. Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is a fellow Michigan State University alum. And I mentioned in one of these videos a while back that Michigan State was used as a front for the CIA back in the early 60s. I believe it was called Project Vietnam, or the Project Vietnam Group, in which many of the more prominent Michigan State professors acted as if they were going to assist South Vietnam in implementing higher level administrative practices, when in all reality it was a front for the CIA to utilize Michigan State, travel abroad, and teach the South Vietnamese many of the techniques that they wanted them to learn so that they could combat, or allegedly combat, the North Vietnamese. For those of you who don't know, both the North and the South in the Vietnam War were being bankrolled by the same faction, but that's a whole other video for another day. I believe I touched on that in one of these videos a very, very long time ago. But it's very clear to me what Draymond Green is, especially in a commercial that he recently did with his mother that I'll probably add as an epilogue. But there's a lot going on at Michigan State, especially in light of the Larry Nassar sexual abuse scandal with the young gymnast.
I don't know. I don't know if he's bored and thinking about something else. I don't know if this is his way of expressing that it's a bad question.
I think he just loves to mess with us.
Yeah,
How about that?
I think
That
he
we
does
know.
this on purpose.
That we know.
No, I don't think that the brother loves to mess with us. I think that he's having issues staying dialed in to the conscious world because many of his alters are fighting to see the light. But that's neither here nor there. This was just a very short segment, and I wanted to do a video on it because I'm probably going to be expanding a little bit more into the monarch athlete world in the near future. But anyway, peace. All right, man, peace. So, brothers, this is going to be the epilogue to the video that I did pertaining to Mr. Draymond Green and his repeated MK glitches. When I say MK, I'm talking about mind control glitches that he seems to have to endure many times during post-game press conferences. So that tells me that the flashing lights that he's seeing while he's on the dais are affecting his programming. It's causing him to go into a state of trance. I've stated for a while that I believe that Draymond Green is what's known as a monarch athlete. Why is that term used? Because the monarch butterfly was the creature that scientists used as an example of an animal that was able to pass programming down generationally without having to teach their progeny. In other words, monarch butterflies would fly from one realm, from one location, all the way across the country to a whole other country to bring forth their children, to bring forth their larvae, which of course would become caterpillars and then go into a cocoon and become a butterfly, so on and so forth. The monarch butterfly could do that without ever having shown its children. Once the caterpillar went into its cocoon and became a butterfly, it knew exactly where to fly back to without ever having been taught that. So scientists observed that and knew that they could therefore program that level of understanding into human beings. That's why victims or people who've had the mind control program perpetrated upon them are known as monarch butterflies or MK assets or what have you. So when I use that terminology, that's why I use it. So butterflies are often used as triggers for assets, for monarch assets. A trigger is something that causes a certain sub-personality within your overall psyche to come to the forefront. Please keep in mind that psyche, if I remember correctly, is the Greek word for soul. When you go into a cocoon as an MK asset, that's while you're being programmed. You're being put under the programming. So you start out as a caterpillar. What does that mean? That means that that's when the child is first put through the programming. They get put into their cocoon, meaning they're being taught. They're having their personality alters installed. They come out as a beautiful butterfly. That means that they are pretty much a flesh and blood android, a flesh and blood robot. And they can have different personalities brought out depending on what are called triggers, which can be phrases, can be photographs, could be paintings, certain words. And you have handlers, which are people who have the keys to their altars. Meaning what? You could see someone and it could cause a certain reaction within you. Even regular people, that can happen because the brain works associatively. Why am I saying all this? Because I saw this commercial here with Draymond Green and his mother for Invisalign, and they're going to show you certain things just in this very, very brief commercial while they're speaking to him and his mother that resonated with me to verify that, yes, he is a monarch athlete. So let's see what goes on here.
Dre, when he was younger, he loved to smile.
Now notice they highlighted the number 23. Let me rewind it back very quickly. The number 23 is of very, very high importance in the Hermetic philosophical world because the number 23 represents life. Why is that? Going all the way back to the ancient world, because they understood DNA back in the ancient world. Understand that you have 23 pairs of chromosomes that basically have every bit of data that's going to go into what makes you, from your physical characteristics to your mental and psychological characteristics. It's basically a program. The universe overall is created very similar to a computer program. It's just a series of zeros and ones, binary code. Okay? The Most High is a great computer coder, a perfect program that has not quite been figured out yet, but they're still trying to figure it out. This is why they want to promote artificial intelligence. That's man's way of playing God. Okay? But just to get back to the point, the reason why the number 23 is so venerated is because it symbolizes life. You have 23 pairs of chromosomes, like you have that website 23andMe, where you go if you want to find out where your origins are from, where you're from, so on and so forth. When you see many of these athletes with that number 23, that oftentimes is a tip-off that they're monarch athletes. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Draymond Green. That's the first little bit of a hint that they're giving in this commercial, because they're highlighting his number. But just pay attention to something else.
He loved to smile. And we knew he would need braces because his teeth were coming in funny.
Now, his mother speaking. Right behind his mother's head is a picture of a butterfly. And it kind of got cut off. Let me just go back a little bit. You can see right behind her head is a picture of a butterfly. They're going to show it a little bit more prominently a little bit later on. Many of these people all across the country, and a lot of times people don't understand this, they agree to allow their children to be put under the programming with promises that they're going to be made prominent athletes or singers or entertainers, etc. Especially parents who have a background in the military or some form of government office, agency. I believe that Draymond Green's mother, her name is Mary Babers. I think that she has a background associated with the prison industrial complex.
Coming in funny.
This is the picture that was on the front page of the newspaper. All you can notice is the bracelet.
Then once he got to Michigan State, he broke the retainer.
Now you see that picture of the butterfly there? Before, it was much more difficult to see the picture of the butterfly. So they must have had her move her chair over so that we can get that picture of the butterfly adjacent to her. Because that is a control mechanism. That's why she has that photo of the butterfly in her home. So that when Draymond sees it, it resonates with him. If you guys ever see a film that Will Smith did, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was the remake of Omega Man that he did, where he's the last man on Earth and he has a dog. His daughter's in that film, Willow Smith. And there's a phrase that she keeps uttering that keeps resonating in his mind because he's an MK asset. Remember, he plays a former military man. And she keeps saying, look at the beautiful butterflies. There's even a scene where the glass pane in front of him breaks and it shatters in the shape of a butterfly. That's double programming because glass shattering is a trigger for MK assets, as is the depiction of a butterfly, because that's what they're always told to align themselves to, a butterfly, because they've been perfected. Okay? I'm trying to remember the name of that damn movie that Will Smith did where he's the last man on the earth. They even used the sun in that film as a character as well. I Am Legend. I Am Legend. That's the name of that damn movie. I always forget the name of that film. That's one of his last good movies. But Will Smith is a pawn. He's always been a pawn. Very, very deep into Luciferianism and pansexuality. He venerates the GOAT God as well. If you guys remember, he also did a film called I, Robot, where he promoted transhumanism. I'm trying to remember if he had the chip in that film as well. But that was one of the films back. When did that film come out? I think like 05. I, Robot came out 04, 05, where they were promoting artificial intelligence from back then. But once again, pay very close attention to the framed photo of the butterfly that she has over her right shoulder.
My bottom teeth, they were really crooked, and I just wasn't getting braces again. Then I discovered Smile Direct Club. It's easy to just grab it and go, and I can change it on the road. I did photo shoots with my eyeliners in, and you can't see them. A smile is a first impression. That's why I think having a great...
Yep, a smile is a first impression, brother. I agree with you. But just getting back to the point, like I always tell you, brothers, There's a lot that goes on in many of these newscasts, these telecasts, these commercials. All you have to do is make sure that you're watching. Don't just look, but watch. And they will tell you a lot without telling you. As I stated in another one of these videos, there's two forms of programming. There's subliminal programming, which is subconscious, and there's supraliminal programming, which is overt. All right, so be cognizant of that. But don't be surprised to see Draymond have some type of meltdown at some point in these playoffs. Don't be surprised if he also has some type of self-destruction at the press conference where he starts to zone out again. So anyway, peace.